Before we begin today, I think it's worth explaining a little bit about what we've been doing these last several episodes. So if you've been following along, we have been recording in various different formats, locales and activities going on that may seem odd and maybe aren't normal for podcasts. And I think what I want to explain to you is, of course, I can be in the recording booth and recording a podcast, and it's always going to be authentic. But what also happens is after the fact or in other areas, might be having a discussion with the podcast producer, who's also my nephew, Asher. And in those discussions, sometimes either during or at the end, he's like, oh man, this would have been great for the podcast. So what we decided to do is start miking ourselves up in various formats. And sometimes the audio, we're trying to dial some of that in. But this next episode, he and I are actually playing NCAA 25, which is a football game on PlayStation, where we're just having a conversation. And it starts out, where I'm kind of not feeling it, and it just then goes from there, and it allows us to be authentic. And so hopefully that's interesting to you. And if it's not, certainly let us know. If it is, let us know, and we'll be glad to do more of it. But anyway, that's some explanation. So you hear kind of what's going on. You might hear some cheers and jeers as we're playing the game. But hopefully this kind of authenticity is something you can appreciate. And regardless, though, I'd love to hear your feedback and love to know what you'd like to hear more of, either whether it's content-based or how we deliver our content, or really anything on your mind. If it's something that you think might help you flourish, and it's something I can do, then I'm absolutely going to consider it. So anyway, thank you all, and I hope you're flourishing today, wherever you may be. And I guess the other piece is this isn't working. I feel like we're not talking. I feel like we're broadcasting. I hate that. We need to redo all that.
I don't know. I'm just listening. So.
Yeah, I know. It feels like broadcasting to me, though, and I hate that. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm broadcasting and preaching. Let me back up a minute. We start all this over again? That's how you open it right there, is me asking, can we start this all over again? And then you go into the podcast.
I don't feel like you're preaching, but I don't know. I was understanding what you're saying. Like, I was feeling it.
Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to play. It might. when you listen back to the recording, it may be fine, but it doesn't. I'm not feeling it.
So what makes you feel off about this? Like, what's wrong?
I feel like I'm preaching a little bit. That's part of it. I feel like it's less. I mean, it is a conversation, but it feels more preachy. I hate that. I hate to come off like I know something. Well, I mean, of course, we all know things. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was.
We all know things others of us don't know. It's not about that. But I just, you know how I am. I don't want to be preaching to somebody about something. I mean, I struggle with this every day. It's a lifetime thing. Let me get in the right mindset.
I'm totally gonna use all of these things of you talking about this. I'm gonna make a highlight reel of just you saying like, I just struggle with this, man.
You mean a low light reel?
I'm going to make a highlight reel of all that stuff. We probably have that in every recording.
We probably do. There's probably hours of my low light reels. It's Frank. It's my,
oh my gosh.
Ooh, that's wild. So yeah, it's, what do you call it? In your head when you think you're not, imposter syndrome. It's my imposter Frank. He lives with me constantly. Some people have Pastor Frank. I have Imposter Frank.
Yeah, maybe you should talk about Frank. You never talked about Frank before.
Have we never talked about Frank?
I mean, I've talked about you with Frank, but you never brought it up.
We never recorded Frank? We never, okay. Ooh, that's interesting.
I think Frank is super interesting.
Okay.
I think Frank's powerful, actually.
Oh, so that's just it, right? Frank can be just an absolute tormentor if you let him be. And we all have, look, so yeah, let's back up. So imposter syndrome, that's the whole notion of your brain telling you that you're not good enough to do whatever it is you do. So maybe you're again, look at the three roles I fill, the three main roles. You know, I'm a father. Well, I'm not good enough to be a father. What do I know about being a father? Or I'm a founder. Yeah, what do I know about founding a company? Or why should I be up in front of these people talking? Or a friend from the community perspective. You know, what do I know about communities? These people have been here longer than I have, or they're smarter or better, whatever. All the things, right? And even right now. What led us into this conversation? Recording this. What do I have that people need that they can't give for themselves or somebody else or whatever? So that's the imposter syndrome. We all have it, I think, unless maybe, I don't know. Do sociopaths have that? They probably don't. But maybe normal people don't.
I haven't. So
just because you don't have it doesn't mean you're a sociopath. I didn't mean that for anything. But I think we all have it generally. And I think it can break you. I mean, it can break you down to where you're paralyzed. When I've seen it, people they just won't do things because they don't believe in themselves. And it can also put you to where you're not flourishing because you're not being as effective as you could be because you're not taking those risks or those opportunities or stepping out because you're worried that you really aren't qualified for it. And I'm not saying, jump in a 737 and try to pilot it across the U.S. because, there's limits to that. Obviously, there are things you may not be qualified for. And that, I think, is where the power, for me, what I've tried to turn around with the imposter syndrome. And so I have given mine a name because I value it, actually. And so mine is called Frank. So Frank follows me around. It's in my head right now, talking to me right now. Literally. It's almost like we're in a paranormal thing. It's like, can you hear that? It's talking to me right. You hear that? It's down the hall. It's literally that kind of thing. And Frank is right in my head right now as we speak. And I listen to Frank generally. But sometimes Frank doesn't help because Frank is really just being mean. But sometimes Frank is helpful because I'm not qualified to do the thing I'm doing, and I got to get my stuff together. I got to get better. I got to go train. I got to learn. I got to work harder. I got to take lessons. I got to pay attention. It dials me in. And so there is sometimes where why should I be doing this? What do people care? Well, I need to be able to know that answer. So if Frank's telling me that's not true, I need to say, is that really true? And dig into it. So it keeps me sharp. So I've used it that way to be a bit of a secret weapon without it crushing me. And I think without that, that's where you get maybe, nice run. We become arrogant or something. We become deluded to the fact that we have flaws and whatever. And I know that sounds silly, but I think it's easy to miss where we all are flawed and I don't think you want to shut that voice down, but you certainly don't want to be crushed by it.
But I think when you use that paranormal thing, I'm thinking, is Frank here with us?
It's Frank. Frank, if you're with us, give us a sign.
The spirit of Frank.
Cut in. Oh, nice. Oh
my goodness.
Oh, nice run.
Oh my Lord.
Oh goodness.
But I gotta remember what.
This disclaimer is we are sitting here playing NCAA 25. Yeah, where we're talking.
So okay, so with you, I know, still, you got to be able to respect the fact of all the years of experience you've had, and you know. Oh, I didn't mean to. You know what you're talking about, though. So you got to fight back against Frank sometimes when you kind of make him feel that.
So here's how I've reconciled that. Yeah, I try not to fight Frank because we'll have some creative abrasion. It's fine, but I try not to fight him because I look at him I look at the voices in my head. We talked about health a minute ago. I look at those voices in my head. One voice is telling me, is that sugar? Is that bright colored? Eat it to survive. Eat all of it. Eat as much as you can get your hands on. Yeah. That's my, I call it my Cro-Magnon brain or my prehistoric brain. That's telling me, eat that to stay alive. And that part of my brain and my ancestry has been good for us as a society. That's why we're still alive and thriving, because we ate the fruit. We ate the things we needed to eat to stay alive because we didn't starve. Yeah. Well, now in my modern brain, in the modern world, starvation isn't a concern for most of us on the planet. There are still, unfortunately, some that are. But generally, if you're in a first world nation and you're employed in some way, shape, or form, starvation isn't necessarily high on your list. And so it's maybe the overconsumption. And at that point, my modern brain needs to kick in and go, thank you, prehistoric brain. I appreciate the insight that I should eat all of this chocolate. However, I know this is not going to be good for me, and so I got to be more thoughtful about it. And yes, there will be chocolate available tomorrow. In fact, even better, there'll be other food available that I can get readily at any time I want, right? Right. And so I look at it that way, and I go the same way with Frank. He is there to protect me. I don't look at it. I try not to look at it as a tormentor that I've got to fight. I look at it as that voice that's speaking with all its knowledge. Hey, I wasn't qualified yesterday. Why would I be qualified today? And then it allows my modern brain, or this side me, to talk to Frank and be like, hey, thanks, dude. I appreciate the warning. I got this. Mm-hmm. And so that does allow me to be confident without being cocky, I think, sometimes. But it also keeps humility in there, because there are going to be things I don't have. And sometimes we all get out of our skis. I get that. But yeah, so but hey, look, teach his own. Some people want to fight that. Some people want to shut it up and all that. That's cool. And you do what makes the best path for you. But for me, man, I've learned to embrace it. And that's been, I don't know how many years ago. Many years ago, I began to embrace it and gave it a name. And now Frank is part of my team. Now nobody knows. Now I sound like I'm losing my mind at this point. At this point, Mother's like, should we take him out of the CEO path? I think he might be crazy. But it's not schizophrenia. It just is. We all have voices in our head, right? And in this case, and I'm not dogging. Obviously there's real health issues and all that stuff, and I'm not making fun or light of that. But in this, for me, it's real. He's there all the time, every day, every day, and active.
I never would have looked at it like a warning. I've never thought of it that way. Like it's a survival.
It's a survival. That's the way I see it. It may not be. I could be completely bunk. There could be a psychologist listening now going, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it's not any dumber than anything else you can find on social media or podcasts. Yeah. So, hey, whatever. But it works. I mean, it's worked for me. Again, your mileage may vary.
But like you said, there's so many legends and stories that even though they're not true, they can still serve a purpose. So even if what you're saying is not scientifically correct, it can still serve you and helping your imposter syndrome or whatever name you've given it.
Yeah, it's like a keto or judo. It's like using that energy and going with it instead of just banging up against it. So instead of saying, no, I am qualified enough, saying, am I? Maybe you're right. Let's talk about this, Frank. And I think through it. Now, obviously, this doesn't happen on every little thing, but I'm sharper. I'm sharper because of it. So I do see it as a helper, as a warning, as whatever.
What does Frank look like? I wonder. Do you have a picture of Frank?
In
your head?
If I don't typically, but if I try to visualize it, Frank is like me. Just he is angry. He's more protective. He's more primal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's a primal you?
Probably also has a beard. Yeah.
More of a woodsman beard.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. Probably way more fit. I bet he's way more fit than I am. Yeah. He probably didn't eat a whole lot.
Doesn't eat a whole lot.
So yeah, that's it. I don't know if that's gonna be valuable or not. What we just did, maybe.
I don't know. I think it is. I think that's a unique unique part of your life. I've never heard that before, personally.
Really?
I've never heard the...
I've never either. It's not.
I've heard of imposter syndrome, obviously,
sure.
But no one's ever... It's interesting to make it... You're making it real by doing that. More real by making it a character, and you're accepting it. You're not just... I've never heard of that before.
Well, and it's not that I haven't tried to fight imposter syndrome my entire life. So I get what that fight's like. And at some point, I you know what, I'd like to really think, I wonder when this kind of occurred. Over time, nothing ever happens in a point, well, these kind of things don't typically happen in a moment. They happen over time, and then it feels like it's a moment in time. But I guess I just got tired of fighting it. And I was like, well, what if it's right? What if it's right? And almost pulled the kind of stoic thing and play it to the end. What worst case scenario, what if it is right? What if I am a failure as a father, right? So I just go down that path. And what if I'm a terrible husband? And what if? Okay, when you get to the end of that, it's like, well, now what? I am a husband. I am a father. Well, get your shit together. I don't know, what now? And so if I fight against it all the time, no, I'm good, then I'm not really gaining anything. But if I'm like, okay, well, where am I not good? What am I not doing? It might be like, you know what? I haven't been super attentive to my wife this week. Maybe I should grab dinner maybe this week, or whatever, or play some cards, or just ask her how her day is. Some things, because you get wrapped up in your day, those things, I feel like those are a bit warning signs. And so, yeah, again, you can fight it all day long, or you can just play it out and go, well, what if I am a dirtbag? What if I am not a very good CEO? We'll be a better one.
Yeah.
Why am I not a good? So then once you start asking questions of it, instead of fighting it, you might get insights. It's like, well, why am I not a good CEO? Well, you know what? You didn't get up early enough today because you stayed up too late last night. And so when you got on the meeting that they needed your best brain, you were half-assing it. Well, okay, that's real. That's real. Mm-hmm. And that's in your head, and it's coming out. So it's like, use it. Why would you ignore that? And if you fight it all the time, now again, it can crush you if you let it. But again, at the end of the day, I think if you're at least regulated well enough, once you get to the point, if you get to the most horrible thing, if your imposter syndrome's told you the most horrible things about yourself and you get there, now what? I mean, now what? Mm-hmm. Get it together.
Yeah.
Go do something. Go fix something. You can only just move forward from there. So it's been a weapon.
I mean, you can't get any worse at that point, right?
Right. That's what I mean. And the reality is you're probably not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let it go all the way and then come back from there. And for me, it really is, it is weaponizing something that's there anyway. It's like, why spend all this energy fighting it when I can just hear it and go, that's interesting. And sometimes I'm going to say, dude, really? I mean, come on, this, and this. But I usually don't have to do a whole lot of craziness. That cat is awesome.
I know, she's really loving me right now.
Yeah.
The marketer in me is thinking to name this episode, like, if it does become an episode, like, what if your imposter syndrome's right?
That's a great one.
Imagine.
That's a great name.
I think it's great.
Yeah. We could do 2 episodes. We could record some of that earlier stuff too if it doesn't play off well. If you listen to it and you think it's good, then that's good.
I think that, yeah.
What if your imposter syndrome is right? That is perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's a great name.
I mean, yeah, I like how you put that. What if it is right? I mean, then what are you gonna do? I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. It's either way, you have to get better in some way. I mean, if you're worse than you think you actually are, or if you're better than you actually think you are, you're not just gonna want to stay where you're at. Either way,
Not if you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, sometimes it is right.
Yeah.
So get your shit together. Yeah. I don't know what to say. At that point, maybe I shouldn't say it, but be better. And not, everyone's, be better. I want to accept me as who I am. Okay, I accept you as who you are. That's awesome. And you should be able to accept you as who you are. That's awesome. And we should get there. But then what? Now what? Do you want to grow? I mean, we were all children at one point. We were all toddlers. We didn't stay that way, but I accepted my kids. My kids are growing right now. They're awesome, and I love them. They will continue to grow, right? Because that's what they're supposed to do. And as a human, even at my age, I'm supposed to continue to grow. Not physically, hopefully not. I mean, I don't want to grow too much more. But I should be growing as a person. And that, I think that right there is one of the cruxes of flourishing. If you're stagnant somewhere, and I don't mean you always have to be coming and reinventing yourself. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, if that's your thing, whatever. But if you're not growing, if you're not, I don't know how you can flourish without growth. Mm-hmm. Growth is flourishing. I mean, think about a flower that flourishes. It's growing. It's out there. It's renewing. And I think there's some component of that with flourishment that's critical. So, yeah, I mean, it might be right, and you may be lacking. You probably are in some areas. Okay, that doesn't make you terrible. It just makes now you know some things you need to do.
Yeah, I can accept somebody as they are. But I won't accept the fact that you can't get better.
Yeah, I think that's.
I feel like that's unacceptable to believe that.
I agree. I think that's true.
It's unacceptable. It's not like I'm so disrespected by that. I'm disrespected that you're doing that to yourself, and you won't allow that.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, it's not as much. I try to be careful not to judge others. I don't know what they're dealing with. I don't know what they may be growing in ways I don't see, but I know me. And I know Frank knows me, yeah. my imposter syndrome. And so I can't ignore it. I'm not going to put a front up to that. So go ahead and hear it out. And then I can judge me, but not harshly, man. We should go easy on each other. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. And, things are hard. But things have always been hard, differently hard, but things are hard. But that's I don't think that's an excuse to quit either. For me, I got to keep going. I've got things to do. I've got things I want to accomplish. I've got things that I feel I can bring to the world in my own little section of the world. And if I'm not bringing that, I'm not flourishing. And I think that's what keeps me going. It's like, what's the purpose of life? Yeah, well, to flourish, man. And that's a lot. That means a lot. It means different things for everyone, of course. But I don't know. Feels right to me.
Oh my.
Whoa. Did not expect that.
I thought I was going to get crushed.
Awareness on that dude that drove by you was like 47. He just run by, I'm coming over here, boss. Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. This might be good. Maybe there's some stuff in there for you.
I mean, I think the imposter syndrome, I really resonate with that personally.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's a hard thing to deal with.
It is a hard thing, and so many people struggle with it. And I don't want to make light of folks struggling with their own self-talk. That's a big thing. The stories we tell ourselves are so powerful. And my heart goes out to folks who cannot or struggle with forming a positive story about themselves. So I don't want to dismiss the fact that the imposter syndrome can be debilitating to some. But again, I refuse to see myself as a victim in this. I mean, my imposter syndrome, it can be harsh at times, but I refuse to see myself as a victim to it. That's why I think seeing it as an asset just changes the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would hope that folks who are struggling with that can help that too. I don't want to discount other psychological, mental, relational abuse stuff. There is some real stuff in the world. And I'm not trying to discount, but for most of us, generally, I think we can flourish and we can leverage our imposter syndrome to do so.
Yeah, it's that thing about turning your weaknesses into strengths.
Yeah. Yeah, and even yeah, I guess I don't even count the imposter syndrome as a weakness as much as, or even what it's pointing out necessarily. It might be pointing out weaknesses, but weaknesses to me sometimes you think of weakness as fixed, like you're weak about this, whereas it might just be a current deficit that you can refill. And so I guess weakness, you can go lift weights to get stronger. I get it, but I don't know. Maybe some of them are. Maybe I'm never going to be and I've made this analogy a ton of times, I'm never going to be a 7-foot center in the NBA. So if my imposter syndrome's like, you'll never be a center in the NBA, I can listen to that and go, yeah, you're right, cool. What's next? What now? And then we can have some real talk. So if it gets crazy and stupid, then you hear it out and put context to it, and then you move on.
Yeah, I guess then if it's not a weakness, it's just, I guess it's a tool that can be used either for good or bad.
It is a tool that can be used for good or bad, and it doesn't always have to be right, because remember, it's in your head. Yeah. So it could be just as full of crap as you are, because it may not know. Yeah. So it could be misinformed about something and giving you advice that's not good advice at all. So I'm not saying take it all as gospel and run with it. Just engage it, leverage it. It's like having an advisor or a confidant. They can be wrong sometimes, and that's okay. Yeah. But having them is better than not having them, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's use you as an example, because I know you love to talk about yourself.
Oh, I love it. It's so much fun.
But when you have that, but then you can use evidence in the real world, it's like, so you may have this feeling that nobody wants to listen to this and it's not useful for anybody, and but I've said that I find it useful. We have people at the company that have found it useful. You've had people reaching out to you that have found it useful. That's truth. That's reality. Yeah. And there's also the reality, once again, that you've lived for a while now, and you've done this for 20 years, at least in the business. You've lived longer than that, doing other things too. So there's experience there that can be shared, and it's been identified as valuable.
It's a really good point. So when we had our fall base camp, our base camp this year, where we celebrated our 20 years, that was a moment for me. That was an impactful moment, because I was like, wow, okay, this is real. These are amazing people who are together, and we've had amazing people through the years who have accomplished something that, there are few companies that can be in business that long and be successful and whatever. And we're not whatever. There's a ton of companies better than us. It's not about that. It's not competition. But this is hard to do, and it means we've done some cool stuff. We've done some things right. And when you see people validating, when you see that kind of validation, it is awesome. And I know some people, you can get too much on it, you get validation drunk, if you will. Mm-hmm. But it's nice. It's nice because you do tell yourself a lot that you are short and you aren't able to accomplish this thing. And then when you see, oh, I actually am, there is a gratification there that's kind of cool. However,
the balance of that is I still have the imposter that will still talk to me, and it keeps me sharp, because you can get fat and happy.
Oh, no.
And oh my gosh, I want
Sorry
to
about that. Sorry, I'd see that.
you can get fat and happy and completely become arrogant and numb to the challenges, and I think, not get sharp, and then you do miss. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, that's probably the upbringing I've had, in always raised to work hard regardless. If you're winning, you keep working hard. If you're losing, you work hard. You just work hard. And I think there's part of that in my imposter syndrome that just tells me you're not working hard enough. And we've talked about that. You got to balance that, because you can burn yourself completely out. But you might not be working hard enough, or you might not be working smart enough. It's all real, man.
It's crazy how contextual it is.
It is, and this sounds like it's almost not even worth talking about, because it's everything and nothing, and I hate to come off that way, but hopefully you'll be able to pull some stuff out of here that will be less of that will feel more relatable for folks and more applicable to their situation. Not that I'm trying to offer advice or a way for. Oh my gosh, you got to watch the replay of that.
I missed it.
The replay is not going to do it justice, but I'm going to show you anyway. All right, so
Trying to pick all of this cat hair off.
Watch this in the line, man. This is crazy. So slow, right there. He's going to be tackled, right? Nope. At 3 guys. Dude. You never make it out of that, ever. And he's right through.
That dude he kind of clutched. Picking
he
up
did.
That
58. Make sure we give
that other dude just choked.
Give him some extra Gatorade. Yeah, that guy just missed the tackle, and that guy wasn't fast enough. 13.
55. I don't even know what he's doing over there. Look, 55 missed the guy.
Oh, he's like, I'll get him. Oh, whoops. And he comes back and gets 90. I mean, that's amazing.
Awesome. But it's almost like, so I told you about that fitness guy that I really like. That he says these general fundamental things that are good for all of us. But he's also very aware of the fact that we're all so different genetically. We're also different in how we are. And it's just, you can't give such a niche, these niche trendy things that so many people do online. I think it's the same thing for this. I mean, there's still fundamental stuff that is valuable for us.
And when you look at the greats of anything, I don't care whatever, you think about your grandmother who was awesome, whatever. Fundamentally, she was probably an awesome person, and she did the fundamental things right.
Yeah.
So you look at the greatest athletes in the world. Fundamentally, yes, they're otherworldly talented, of course, but Kobe Bryant, Jordan, LeBron, these guys, they're out shooting free throws and 3-pointers. Who's the guy who shoots them from half court all the time?
Steph Curry.
They're shooting thousands of shots a day.
Yeah. They're
fundamentals. They're looking at their footwork. They're making sure they're eating right and they're exercising and whatever. I mean, obviously through the years, different generations thought about that differently. You know. But I think you're right. I think there's that 80-20 rule. If it's not exactly that, whatever, it's probably not far from it. And that 80% probably applies to all of us.
Yeah.
It's like basic fundamental things.
Like Jordan. All those guys, Jordan, Curry, and LeBron and Kobe, they were never like, man, if I just learned this one move, one move on the court, I could just dominate.
This one move opposing guards hate. They sell these 13 things opposing guards in the NBA hate.
It's like, you think that's what made them as great as they were?
Yeah.
Man, if I could just get this one spin move, slide down, it's like, that's going to,
it's crazy.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they shot thousands upon thousands.
They got up in the morning, they went to work, and they wanted to be the best at what they did.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing more complex than that. Then all of a sudden, of course, they were super talented. There's all kinds of other things that go into it, but even, I don't know. I mean, even like you look at weightlifters, right? So there's a ton of them that use steroids, of course, right? Look at that. I can't believe I made that run.
This that was nice. That's awesome.
He knew the software must have known that was an awesome run. So yeah, I mean, you look at weightlifters and competition guys, whatever. Okay, you could say, well, that dude's taking roids. Yeah, he is, but he's also busting his butt in the gym hours and hours and hours. Now, I'm not condoning whatever. That's for you to decide. My point is, there's still an 80% there that they're putting it in. They're going to work and putting the weights up and down, doing things there, eating right, all that kind of stuff. And that's what all of us can do. So yeah, you don't have to do those things to reach an awesome level. Maybe not the peak level. That's when you can start. If you can start nailing all that, that's when you can start looking at some of these, these finer things. Everybody wants to take a vitamin now or this cool drink elixir or whatever else, when really, you should eat fruits, vegetables, meats, and what move the body.
Yeah.
What's that old Michael Pollan thing, right? Eat real food, not too much, kind of thing, right? Or whatever his thing is. That's about 80% of it right there. Oh, speed.
Oh, get in there.
Speed and power.
He dropped him.
Oh my God, that was an elbow. That was a power elbow. We'll look at the replay on that. I want to see that again.
That was
Abbott he's awesome. I wish he was a real guy playing on our team.
Oh, instant replay. I think it's so interesting too, how a lot of that fundamental stuff, again, there's a lot of people who would probably love to be like Steph Curry and be great at basketball.
Of course.
But it's like, he went out and shot so many shots. If you look at the process of what he's done, it's supremely boring. It's like he's gone out there and shot the same shot thousands of times. That is monotonous.
Hey, persistence is as much to success as anything else.
Yeah.
When I look back over our 20 years of this company, persistence is right there in the mix. I mean, there's lots of times we could have, maybe even should have given up, but persistence is there. Relationships, you look at marriages, and I'm sure anyone who's married for when you can count your marriage in decades, persistence is going to be there. Because love and cool and all that stuff, that's there, but it's not as consistent as persistence is, commitment. But yeah, it doesn't hurt for Steph Curry to have Del Curry as a dad and all that. But so he has genetics. He's got all these, been around him. But he also, part of that's he knew he was brought up with an upbringing of work, and that goes to the whole flourishing piece as a dad. I struggle with how to relay to my kids the things I've learned and the work ethic or the ways I've found to be successful. How to relay that to them in a way that won't just completely grind them into the ground or turn them off or make them feel like you don't love them or you're not proud of them or whatever. And that's hard. Maybe that's a whole episode too. That's a tough one. Because it's so easy to be like, okay, you did awesome there and I want you to do better here. And here's something. Have you thought about doing it this way? Kids sometimes don't hear the awesome part. They only hear, Dad's not happy enough with what I'm doing. And that's a struggle because part of that's what drives them. So that's okay. But part of it is, I don't want them to feel like they're not appreciated. That's not cool.
Yeah.
So that's a struggle. Oh man.
Maybe once I have kids, we can come back and talk about this
in
15 years.
Yeah,
I'll understand.
You can do it. I might be smarter on it then. Or I might have learned so much that I know I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
Like now I can be sure I will never find this answer because I've been a parent for long enough. Come on, speed.
Heck, 15 years, Zane he could have his own kids and understand it at that point.
True.
How old is he now?
He's 14.
Oh my God.
He could totally. His kids could
He'll be 29.
His kids could be having this conversation with us.
That is.
Let's hope not. Let's hope he waits a little longer to do something.
I mean,
he have kids by 30, sure, that's fine, but hopefully they're not too old by then.
Yeah, hopefully they're not ready to talk about that too. That would be unfortunate.
Hopefully we're not teaching them to drive or anything.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy to think about, dear Lord. I've only thrown one interception, and it didn't even cost us any points.
I wasn't even paying attention to that. I didn't even see the interception. You could have even said, hey, I didn't even throw any interceptions. I'd be like, wow, you didn't.
I thought you saw that one because there was 10 seconds left, and I threw one just to get the stat in there. That was the last play of the game.
I didn't see that.
You were talking about something. I was like, I'm not going to say anything.
I did not see that.
Yeah, that made sense. I mean, it just makes sense.
Next time if we're playing, we're like, hey, and I didn't get any interceptions. I'm like, It'll be a game of coup. We'll be like, I'm going to challenge you on that.